Governor Kathy Hochul's office claims to be concerned about potential terrorist attacks in retaliation for our military waging war against the extremist regimes in Iran. But if the governor is so concerned about protecting our state, then why is he still wasting a 3,000 troop military presence within New York prisons instead of spreading them out and repositioning them in order to strengthen our state security? The military is specifically trained for this sort of counterterrorism work. Get them out there. Right now, instead of deploying the military to protect our state citizens and critical infrastructures, she's choosing to send bottom-ranked patrol officers to fill the positions that the military can manage more efficiently. Why not reposition those state officer resources into prisons so that we can then temporarily reposition our military into stronger positions to be ready to respond to potential terrorism threats? Our nation is at war. We don't have time to wait for a tragedy or public outrage for our state leaders to make the right decisions. They need to learn how to do that on their own. Right now, the mission is military readiness and terrorism deterrence across New York State. There are no real threats within its prison system to justify wasting almost $1 billion in state funding and a 3,000 military member presence in order to cover for their non-compliance with state laws. The military got deployed within state prisons because the Department of Corrections has been non-compliant with legally enacted laws for almost 4 years. DOCCS conducted an illegal wildcat strike against laws that were legally voted on and enacted by hundreds of New York lawmakers and then reaffirmed by court judges. This deficient Commissioner Martucello has been telling lies, over-promoting their progress, all the while over-exaggerating the realities on the ground in our prisons in order to strengthen their gross misrepresentations. A work shortage could easily be managed by state resources. High school security guards can manage this prison nonsense without a problem. There is nothing that serious going on in here. We are wasting hundreds of millions of dollars and jeopardizing state security by keeping our military in these prisons as we are currently at war with another nation and thereby subjected to increased risk of terrorism at home as a consequence. DOCCS has now had over 12 months to mobilize and recruit a few thousand officers to fill an alleged employee shortage. New York has a citizen pool of over 20 million people. So far, they had access to over $1 billion and still couldn't get the job done. What other failure are we waiting for in order to dispose of them? And I can tell you right now, we definitely have a couple of more controversies waiting to be exposed within their system. In any event, Kathy Hochul needs to push up on the leaders of this failing prison system. They need more oversight. They need more pressure on them. They need help with policy making. They need help with organizing for those policies to be properly enforced. If they don't comply, stop affording them 100 chances and get rid of them for better options. Or else you're just going to continue to make multi-million-dollar investments into a bunch of failing leadership that's only going to waste and mismanage more state funding and military resources. I can tell by the way that our prisons are being ran that none of the low-ranking officers actually respect their higher-ranking superiors. A majority of these administrative figures, they don't even know or understand their own policies and directives enough to properly coordinate their own officers to comply with them. When these officers begin to acknowledge these truths and speak them into the record, that's when the real change is going to occur. Because right now, they're just choosing to stay tight-lipped and scapegoat prisoners as a justification for the failings of the system that only they can control. When they finally begin to expose the deficiencies of their existing leaderships, that's the moment that they are going to receive better ones. Until then, these problems are only going to persist. They need to speak up because we're hearing the complaints every day behind the scenes. But for some reason, they're not saying that on the record, and that's the problem. That level of silence is only going to breed more corruption. Officers know who their weak links are, and they know who their weak leaderships are. Identify them to your state leaders and get rid of them so that we can begin getting these prisons back in order. I've been in this system over half my life, and right now I don't even recognize or understand it because of how much it has been disrupted. Our existing living conditions are a form of cruel and unusual punishments that are being justified by a bunch of the inexcusable work deficiencies. I'm tired of it, so I'm speaking out against it. Let's get to that change. And to all those officers who are still scared to speak out, Remember this. When bad leadership gives bad orders and you're forced to enforce those bad orders, guess what? You get in trouble, not them. It's the same as if circumstances change and bad leadership completely fails to give any orders whatsoever, and officers are forced to blindly flail around as a result. You get in trouble, not them. Because sadly, that's how this lame system that has developed works. When leadership fails, they simply use their rank as a shield to choose a lower-ranking scapegoat to cushion the blow for their own survival. So if you don't resist and that becomes your fate, then that's only your fault.